on San Cristobal Island, which was sparsely populated. There were a few buildings, but it was apparent that this was way different than anything we'd ever seen before. We walked in the national park and saw nothing but green and brown for miles and miles. The animals were coming right up next to us, and we even visited a beach where it was like we were visiting their home. It was so different than anything I'd ever experienced before. Then we visited Floriana Island, which was even more sparse. There were only 150 people living there. It felt like we were the only ones there. What was really cool about that was we got to see where the first settlers of the island had to live, and they carved their home out of the land. And it was really interesting to see what they were doing there to protect the tortoise population because it had gone extinct. We walked on trails that you could tell weren't even meant to be there. When we were at the beach, it was like being dumped into a National Geographic movie. My experience on Isabella Island was a little bit different. It felt like there, whereas in other islands, I was really a part of nature and seeing things living, happening in real time. It felt like on Isabella I'd taken a step back and I saw what it was like before we were even there. Like, it made me feel so small, standing on top of a giant active volcano site and seeing how life hadn't even touched these spots yet. San Cristobal Island was the home of the Darwin Center. It was definitely more touristy and there were a lot more people living there. So you could tell that the wildlife had to sort of adapt to how we came in and created a civilization there. Tourism is a major industry on the islands, so I wondered how it affected the wildlife population and how it affected the nature of the island's landscape.
Do you think tourism is good for the islands or not so good? It's good?
I see you, beautiful girl.
Militants, I hate it. They think they can do everything in the coast and the sea. I happened a big problem once when I started to guide with them, and I went like a volunteer with them, and they want to do the national park gives us an itinerary. And they want to do in every place they want. I was fighting with like 50 people, like 3 guys.
What I learned was that the Galapagos is very concerned about how tourism affects their wildlife population. So they limit the number of immigrants to 200,000 per year, and they really make sure that their experiences aren't detrimental to the natural life. That being said, you could definitely tell that some of the animals had learned to either live with it or live without it. A lot of animals seemed to enjoy our presence and knew that we were there. But with all the trails that have been made and the things that tourists take with them, over time it really alters the habitat left for these animals. In class, we discussed some of the dangerous and detrimental things that humans have done to the Galapagos. Here are some of the things they've done to improve on those. They've set up fenced-off areas for breeding seasons, for breeding grounds for iguanas. They've made incubation centers for tortoises, which were at most extinct or severely endangered species. And they've set up other habitats where they can protect the natural species of the islands from those invasive species they introduced. They're also big on community education. The islands are really working to preserve this natural resource for future generations.